What's up, guys? We are back with another Cosmic Legions Book 1 review, and we're taking a look at one of the 3 Legion builders today. We've got the Tusk Science Officer on deck. So there's the Sentry, the Engineer, and the Science Officer. And this is one of the test shot figures that I actually took a look at, along with the Tusk Engineer. So I'm kind of familiar with this guy, but I've really been curious to see how he was going to play out fully painted up and not just gray. So we've got him here in our standard style packaging for the line, and I literally mean standard. This is the box size for the standard figures. You got him there in the window. We've got our logo down there on the bottom with the hologram look for the figure. One spine gives us the write-up for Hvalkatar Book 1, the other spine gives us product shot and bio, and then the back of the box gives us cross-sell for everybody else that's in this wave. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Tusk Science Officer. So this is one of 3 Legion builders that are true Legion builders, in the sense that their price during pre-order was super cheap, like talking like 25 bucks for these guys, along with the Engineer and the Sentry. There's a bit of a disconnect between retailer price and pre-order price. It's almost double. It's not quite, but almost. But if you could lock these guys in at that $25 price, or, you know, they'll be around 30 bucks at like PowerCon and LegionsCon, I would urge people to probably go a little crazy on them, because this thing in particular is really awesome. I'm very happy with how this guy turned out in particular. A lot of that comes down to some unique parts that this one has, specific to the Science Officer, and then the colors. Like, if you're just into Legion builders for the sake of having a bunch of army guys, you know, kind of lined up on a row, this is my favorite of the 3 because of the paint and the color scheme. But it's also kind of like a blank slate too. So these guys are just going to be ripe to use custom heads on, or of course to paint them up. I haven't thought about painting any of mine just yet, but it's going to happen. So let's see if this guy can do, see how he moves around. It's a 1.0 figure, so kind of normal, nothing too crazy here. You got a head that can look up, he can look down. Got a little tilt side to side, you got some swivel there also. We've got a removable visor piece, so watch out. It doesn't necessarily like lock in super tight, so it might pop out while you're moving him around, so just word to the wise. Arms go out at the shoulders about that far. He does have the cosmic backpack on. It does kind of hinder him. You've got some swivel there. We've got our single jointed, about 90 degree swiveling elbow. Gauntlets rotate, wrists rotate, as well as hinge. Torso on this guy, this one in particular, is locked down. Now, I say this one in particular because despite the fact that this figure shares parts with the Sentry, this one has this little like crest or emblem on his chest, and it juts out from the chest. If you can sort of like get it to go underneath the belt, he will bobble a little bit and you can move him a little bit better. He does swivel fine. This, however, is a removable piece. I'm waiting to see people start making their own, and he can actually move forward pretty decently when that's not there. So this thing just gets in the way. Of course, you're going to have it, or you're going to have this big hole in his chest. Legs go out all the way. They kick forward, but on this body in particular, there's a very hard cod piece here. You're going to have to sort of cock the leg out a little bit to make him kick forward. They kick backwards slightly. You do have a thigh twist up there. We've got our single jointed knees, which are, I mean, basically 90 degrees, maybe slightly better. There is some swivel at the knee. You've got swivel at the top of the ankle, and then we've got our rocker, pretty decent rocker, and hinges down at those ankles. So very normal. If you've messed with any 1.0 figure, cosmic or mythic, you basically know what you're getting into here. He doesn't really have anything in terms of too much improved range over what we're used to seeing on the 1.0 spectrum. If anything, the only area of concern for me with this particular figure is the torso, because there is potential for range there, at least to kick him forward a little bit, but that big thing on his chest just wants to stop it. Now, my main focus for this figure in particular is the looks, and I say that now after having him in hand. I did a review on the test shot of this figure, and the sculpt is terrific. Like, there's just literally detail, tiny little details pouring out of this figure. But it wasn't until I got him in hand that I realized exactly what I'm working with here, because this figure, you know, at face value, he just looks, okay, this is a white guy, and he's got a couple blue accents. This figure is covered in metallic, like, overspray from head to toe. This guy is very pearlescent. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick it up very well. It might sparkle a little bit at times, but there is this pearly sheen over top of this figure that absolutely makes him far more interesting to me than I expected. I thought he was just going to be white. The Sentry, for example, is a very flat, sort of brown gray color, which I'm really not the biggest fan of. This, by comparison, has that matte finish, but it also has this metallic pearlescent sheen to it that makes it look a little bit more interesting. So it kind of livens him up a little bit at least. And I do just in general really like these colors. The white, this metallic white with this very metallic blue, that works for me. I think it looks great. He does have a little hit of silver on the belt here just to sort of break him up a little bit, but overwhelmingly he is just this sort of shiny white color. But I really, really like it. And I like these parts, and I'm very much happy with this sort of, I don't want to say it in a negative way, like this is sort of like the base configuration for like a cosmic figure, right? You've got all of these very techy, spacefaring kind of parts that we see shared across other figures. This is sort of what you can make out of them when you have like the generic torso, legs, and arms. And I think it looks really cool. I'm very happy with the fact that you can change out that crest piece on the chest there, that sort of crest, the emblem that he has. You know, it doesn't help me at the moment, but it's cool if somebody wants to, you know, from the 3D printing community wants to start making those, we can have that kind of stuff to change up our figures a little bit. I like the idea that it's customizable just to pop it right out. And he looks really good. There's tons of detail all over this thing. I've already said that, but every single inch of this figure is covered in some sort of detail. There's, you know, robotic looking pieces. There's like Kevlar, you know, sort of body armor, carbon fiber weave all over him, that kind of stuff. So he looks very, very heavy duty, despite the fact that he's called a science officer. This thing does not look like something you would want to mess with. He looks very armored, which I don't know what they're doing on Hvalkatar, but I think it looks pretty rad. He does come with the backpack, the cosmic backpack, and this is in lieu of pauldrons. Overwhelmingly, most figures seem to have this instead of pauldrons. You know, Vorga's kind of the odd one out when it comes to what she actually gets to wear. And of course, some figures don't have them at all. But we've got this thing. It's like a big, you know, it's very insectoid looking. And of course, when we get to the Sphexians, it looks even more so. But this is very insectoid to me. It's like a carapace. But I'm really happy with the way it looks because it adds some bulk. It adds bulk in a way that pauldrons don't. If that makes sense, it doesn't make him like a more broad shoulders. It makes him a little thicker. It accentuates the neck area also a little bit. You can take it off. It can be a little difficult to get this thing to pop off. It fits into the back adapter slot on the back. It doesn't use the pauldron holes. This guy does have pauldron holes, but he uses the back adapter slot to really slot that thing in there. But when you get it off, it also does work without this as well. And, you know, in many cases, I think Mythic Legions don't look all that great without the pauldrons. I think this guy works pretty well without the backpack. So you've got a couple different options when it comes to this in terms of how you want to display him. And then, of course, we do have a really awesome head sculpt up here. This head is kind of odd when you get to the actual alien head that's supposedly underneath, because I don't really know how this helmet works in conjunction with that head. It doesn't even remotely matter though, because this looks awesome. This is my favorite of the Tusk Legion builder heads, the helmets anyway. I really like this one. I love the translucent dome on there. So you've got that little piece that pops off, and then you've got this super candy-coated metallic blue color inside, which of course, you know, you get to see the entirety of it despite having this on or not. So it looks really cool. It's all very alien, of course. I keep saying that kind of stuff in these videos, but it's like, that's what it is. Like, this definitely looks alien. And obviously that is the goal. So this guy looks really awesome. I think he's going to be a little bit more exciting in hand once you actually get around to messing with him. When you see some of these details, you see this metallic overspray. It's not just a white figure. It's not just a white guy with a bunch of blue accents on his chest and his head. He's covered in this very metallic, pearly look, and I think it really accentuates this guy into something maybe a little bit more exciting than just your standard Legion builder. Now, as far as some size comparisons go, let's start with other Legions figures. So we've got the Science Officer in the middle. We've got a Mythic Legions Arethyr 1.0 format figure here on the left. We've got one of the Sphexians from Cosmic Legions here on the right. And, you know, like I said, he's a 1.0 figure, so he's going to fit in with pretty much anything 1.0. So these guys are all fairly comparable. And let's move these guys aside. Let's do a Super 7 figure. Let's do a turtle. Here is Leo. Let's move Arethyr aside, and here is a SH Figuarts. There is the superhero Piccolo. Let's move Leo aside. Let's do an AWOC figure. Here is Tiberius, and those work pretty well. Let's pull Piccolo aside, and let's do a Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure. Here is the Controller for a much chunkier figure. And then let's do one more. Let's pull Tiberius aside. Do a Mezco. Here is the Mezco Conan. So, I mean, just like I said, 1.0 style figure, that pretty much runs the gamut. Anything 1.0 Mythic Legions, you know exactly what you're getting into. He's going to fit in well with anything Legions related. And of course, if you want a larger robot alien looking guy, he'll also work pretty well with your 6-inch 112 stuff too. Now, as far as accessories goes, despite being a Legion builder, that doesn't really factor into what we get as far as accessories goes. The Science Officer comes with a pretty solid spread. There's a decent amount of stuff that kind of runs the gamut here in many ways. Hands, head, ways to change up the look, you get weapons, all sorts of stuff really. So to start with, we do get a way to change up this guy's appearance, and we get a very alien head sculpt. And this is what I was talking about when it comes to like, how does this head actually fit into this helmet? Because it's like the exact same size, and it has some sort of inner array to it, because that piece on the inside, you know, is sort of sunken down. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's just one of those sort of oddities you look at when you're kind of going over these sculpts. Can that head actually fit into this correctly? And his eyes are also pointing out to the side. How does it work? Is there an elaborate camera system in there? We will never know. But I do really like this head sculpt, and a lot of it is just the colors. I really like this sort of purpley pink color. It's goofy and it's weird. And, you know, again, it's really, really alien. I like the metallic green eyes. This sort of sunken facial features, you know, the very like skeleton style looking lack of a nose there does look really cool, and just tons of detail all over this thing. We do also get the helmet housing for this figure. We don't get the actual dome. That you'll get that with the Sentry. You get one of those there, but you get the actual housing for it here. And this looks really cool. It adds another layer to this figure. I will say, and I did have this trouble with the test shot as well, actually getting this to sit on there can be kind of tricky. Once it fits, it sort of seems quite obvious how it works, but it was a little difficult for me to actually get this on. It did sort of fight me for a bit. But you do get the option to actually have this, so it's like, you know, the helmet is open and you can see the face, the head within. Now, beyond that, we do get some extra hands, and this guy is also one of the figures that is part of the hands pack group of figures. So there is a Tusk hands pack that will come with a mountain of hands for this guy. You get gripping hands on him in the box, and then we get vertical trigger finger hands as extra hands here. And then there's all sorts of different options if you decide to go down the road with that hands pack. We also get some guns for this guy. So we get these are like the standard blasters, the standard single blasters. So you get 2 of them. They are different because they have the peg holes on either side, and those are for the little peg doodads that are effectively the new back adapters when it comes to Legions. So this guy has peg holes on the back here, and you can do that to actually stow weapons. There are 2 sets of pegs. There's 2 long and 2 short, depending on what you want to do with them and how you want to have them stowed. So you do get those. But I really like these guns. They're kind of heavily used already in the line, but I like his because they have this sort of, it's a silver color, but it's kind of dark at the same time. It's not super, super bright, but I really like the sculpt on this. And then we also get the rifle for this guy also. And it also has one of these ports, and some figures, including the weapons pack, have little tiny like wrist blasters, and those can actually mount inside of here. So you could have like another gun popping out of the side, because why not? So you get this also. I really like this gun, but my favorite accessory is also like the smallest, unless you count the little, the little pegs. My favorite accessory is the smallest. We get one of these little doodads with this guy. So these are like this holographic projection that can come out of the wrist. So this goes in the same ports as the little pegs, but this is like one of those Lost Cronin skulls, and it's translucent blue. Some figures have these. They range from like, data that's popping up on a little holographic screen to planets to the skull here. I just really like them. I think it's cool. I love translucent stuff anyway, but I really think this is a cool idea. Plays up the space, the techie aspect of this. And it's cool to have him doing something that maybe isn't just standing still or just sort of holding a gun. You can have him sort of looking at this little readout that's popping up out of his arm. So I do like that. And of course, all of these across all of the figures are interchangeable, so you don't have to use that one with this guy if you don't want to. So he does come with a pretty solid array of accessories. Like I said, it's kind of a little bit of everything. You get parts for the helmet, you get a head, you get hands, you get a projection doodad, you get the pegs, and of course you get 3 different guns. So for a science officer, this guy is pretty well loaded. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this guy. Again, I've already said it, this is my favorite of the 3 Tusk Legion builders. A lot of it has to do with this color combination because he and the Sentry are very, very similar in terms of makeup and build. But this white metallic with this metallic blue does look really awesome. That metallic on the white was surprising. I didn't know he looked like that, or I had forgotten, one of the two. And it was a nice surprise to see there being a little bit more detail to this figure. When it comes to that paint, it just makes him pop a little bit more. I like his accessories. I really like this head sculpt. I love the guns that he comes with. I like the fact that he's got one of the little projection things. And it's just a cool looking figure. I really like both head sculpts, so you got great options there. I like the removable visor. I like the helmet edition. All that stuff really makes for a nice complete package. So that's going to do it for this look at the Cosmic Legion's T.U.5.C.C. Science Officer. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.